So yes, as sir was showing you this, geography has almost 17% where we have tried to include even the world geography, prelims, right? And most importantly, we have tried to tell the geography through maps of international relations as well. So all these, I'll try to show you one after the. So guys, as it is new for a while, so bear with us. When we look at this section wise, most of the questions are mostly from Indian geography. World geography, when we are telling, it's very minimal, but we are trying to include international relations and other aspects as well. And when it comes to general geography, we are talking about the current affairs aspect. So geography, when you are considering, I am also including world geography and some parts of forestry and other areas as well, right? So now this is one area where I want you to make a proper note first. So if you have a white sheet or so, and if you can make a note of all these topics that we have divided, and if you can say, yes, I have completed this particular part, if you feel so, you can put a tick around it so that you need not read them again. So if you feel you have not done those areas specifically, then you can work on it. Now, for example, let me say, uh, in your book or material, wherever you are writing, if you can write first astronomy, I'll show you the questions that are coming. So most of the questions in geography are conceptual and basics. Either it would be on definitions or it would be on the basis of the concepts. Diagrams, if you can draw and check, you will be able to solve most of the questions. So next, climatology, geomorphology, oceanography we have, right? So population, extremely important. And most of this population questions mostly appear from economic survey. I'll show you that as well. And then you have map based questions, which usually you get from current affairs, and also India point of view, you'll get good number of questions. Soils, right? Separately, you have to read about soils. Forests, separately. Please try to read this along with environment as well. Soils also, if you can look at pollution and all from environment perspective, it would be beneficial. Rivers, as I'll show you the questions, are mostly associated with current affairs, right? Wherever there is inter-water river disputes, floods in a particular area, right? In those issues, you will look at rivers. Then Indian physical geography and map, both together, you will get good number of questions. Minerals, when we say, because of the economic policies of the government and especially associated with mining sector, so some mineral based questions are there. For example, now you know there is a new mineral goldsmith which was found, and questions about such minerals can also be asked. Rare earth minerals are in news, right? These becomes important for us. And when it comes to agriculture and industry, when it is about cropping pattern, mostly questions are asked in agriculture, geography part of agriculture. When it is about MSP and all those issues, it is economy based. Industry and agriculture mostly asked in, like, economy or in geography, but both we combine as economic geography, and questions are derived from economic survey. So climatology, geomorphology, oceanography, and Indian geography, I know you people will be doing with the help of NCERT books and the class notes that are available to you. But what is more important for me is economic survey, you have to read it from geography perspective as well, right? So some important areas from economic survey, will also be done to you over a period of time through these Zoom classes. Next, if you look at astronomy, solar system itself is extremely important. If you are aware about the 8 planets and asteroids, comets, meteors, all those aspects that are present in the solar system itself, it's enough. For this, in NCERT book, when you are studying, you have some tables given below, which gives you some factual information. So please read that factual information. Now, what is the use of this lecture and how is it different from the previous lectures? Earlier in classes, whenever we used to deal, we used to tell you the concept and focus mainly on helping students to understand. But now, you people should be aware what to read and what not to read, because this is extremely important time for you to focus on prelims. And when it comes to prelims, factual data becomes extremely important for you, because you are aware that when they give you 1, 2, 3, 4 in options and ask anything related to that, not several people are comfortable because they are aware about either 1 or 2 options and not everything. So guys, table in NCERT book, even in 6th standard, 8th standard, you have these tables. If I'm not wrong, like, GC Leong also have this table. So solar system, try to read properly. And most importantly, try to connect it with science and technology. There are some projects of ISRO, NASA, which is working to explore some planets in the solar system. It is Juno for Jupiter. Like, read about Chandrayaan. So when you're reading about solar system, first try to look at the basics from geography perspective, but please try to read about moon a bit more, right? Because of what? Because of Chandrayaan. Everything about moon becomes important for you. It may be the distance, it may be apogee, it may be perigee, right? And it may be about the satellite systems as well. So whenever you are revising, I hope you are making note of all this. Whenever you are revising, how you should revise? You should read solar system from geography, immediately take science and tech material, right? Look at last 1 year explorations. And whenever you read, 2 things are important. See, one, a satellite might have been launched to a particular planet, right? To study about it. That is important. Second, that particular satellite might have given us some critical information which we were not aware till now. Third most important, if at all it exists, if the mission have been or has been completed in last 1 year in science and technology, if you can look at these 3 aspects, any one you will be going to get. So please don't read geography separately, science and tech separately, especially with respect to study of planets in the solar system. And last year, black hole had lot of significance. And the main reason for that significance was about the gravitational waves and other things that were introduced and some studies which were there. So this year, the chances of this is less, but still, if you look from Jan 2019 till now, which some people feel is the time frame for UPSC framing some questions, I would say June is enough, but still, just try to read a bit more about black hole, right? Now, if these 2 are done, miscellaneous is all about current affairs, so don't worry about it. Next, we need to look at the questions which were actually asked. So now, this is a very simple question. On 21st June, so I hope you're aware now when we say 21st June, immediately you should be able to say that it is summer solstice, right? Summer solstice means sun's rays will be falling over northern hemisphere, and this would be the circle of illumination, and entire this region will be having sunshine. And see here, sun is somewhere here, right? And when I consider this particular position, now I'm talking about the circle of illumination, right? This is Arctic, this is Antarctic. And now look at the question, sun's rays is falling over Arctic and not on Antarctic. The sun does not sit below the horizon of at the Arctic circle. So sun is not sitting, can I say, throughout this particular period, right, or that particular day, when Earth rotates, right, whenever the Earth is rotating, this entire part would receive sun's rays. So these concepts we have already seen. I'm just trying to say, if you can draw and check, I'm just trying to show you how to approach. Even after teaching to so many batches, if you ask me, like, suddenly, I would say, let me draw and check. The reason for this is, in geography, two things become important. One, once you draw a concept, and then when you read the statements, you will have a lot of clarity, and the statements would be clear, because you wouldn't have read geography in the language provided in the question paper. Polity, history, language will be similar to the standard books. So if you read standard books, class notes, it would be fine. But here, I have taught you concepts. So for language purpose, draw the diagram first and then try to read the question and options. As soon as you feel it is right, you can go with the answer. But if you don't, then at least with the help of this diagram, you will be able to eliminate and answer. I won't take so much time for everything. I'm just trying to help you out with how exactly you need to approach. Most of this we have discussed in the class. You might have forgot. So I'm just trying to use this opportunity to tell you about this. Then the next important aspect is, see, it's a definition. What is the difference between asteroids and comets, right? So I don't think you need to explain about these issues again, right? So I'll just move. Next comes climatology, which we have spent enough time in the class as well. So here, composition, atmosphere, heat budget, atmospheric circulation means Hadley cell, Ferrel cell, polar cell, and which many people feel the winds to be the most difficult one. Clouds and the world climate. The world climate, if you can refer to class notes and GC Leong, it would be helpful. I'll tell you how exactly you need to prepare for each one. So now here, composition, structure, and heat budget, right? This particular topic, read from NCERT books. More than enough. No need to worry, right? Atmospheric circulation, please try to read class notes. You will be able to answer most of the questions. Clouds as well. I hope you are aware about the concepts already. Read NCERT plus class notes for clouds. Atmospheric circulation, NCERT has very less information and it may not be helpful for you much. World climate is one area where my class notes is enough. Plus, there is one tendency that everyone wants to read GC Leong, irrespective of whether we say or not. So if you are reading GC Leong, in GC Leong, there are last 13 chapters where every region is being discussed about. Now, in those 13 chapters, if you have a book, then you can see in orange color, some letters or words would have been highlighted. So just try to read those highlighted words. And in GC Liang, especially about world climate, there will be some graphs about rainfall distribution every month and also temperature variation every month. It looks somewhat like this, right? You will have something like this. And the temperature, they would have given somewhat like this. Now, when you have these, I have not explained this for you in the class, mainly because it was like, in 30 years, if you look at the question papers, only once they had asked, and that too, there was a specific reason for that particular aspect. So you don't find these questions, but most of the question papers in geography available in the market, they try to provide questions on these, and you feel you have not prepared and you don't know how to answer. So it's a bit technical. This much technical is not asked in UPSC. So don't waste your time in these type of information which they have not asked. So just a suggestion, there are some areas which you should know that UPSC used to ask before 2011, and they're not asking after 2011. These questions are few of them. So please don't waste your time in analyzing those aspects. Just with the help of class notes, wind system, when do they get rainfall, and maximum, if you can read the Koppen's classification, that should be more than enough. So after this, let's quickly look at the questions. Why are dewdrops not formed on a cloudy night? See guys, two words. I have Earth's surface, I have clouds, and moon is there. Fine. If I have these three aspects, then I should know in the night, it would be Earth's radiation and not sun's radiation. And Earth's radiation, when it is there, and clouds normally reflect it. So when clouds reflect it, it comes back. So due to this, what is going to happen? The heat of the Earth is reflected back, and Earth's temperature increases. If you are aware of this concept, in the class notes you can check. When we spoke about the ground inversion, we have spoken about this fact as well. Now you check the options. Clouds absorb the radiation released from the Earth's surface. See, clouds doesn't absorb radiation, correct? So this is wrong. Clouds reflect back the Earth's radiation. Do you agree? Yes. The Earth's surface would have low temperature on cloudy nights. Can you see this? Temperature of the Earth increases. So this is wrong. Clouds deflect the blowing wind to ground level. We are not talking about the air or wind. We are mostly focused about the radiation. So clouds reflect back. See, you are not talking about dewdrops at all. Just this diagram, when you see and when you read the options, you know that these are not happening. So what is happening? Only this is happening. So that should be the option. Whether we have taught you in that particular language or not, if you can redraw climatology, all the diagrams that you have drawn in your class notes, if you can redraw them, you will be able to answer the questions. So let me go back to the next question. This is associated with agriculture actually. So you see, hot and humid climate, right? Annual rainfall of greater than 200 centimeter means wet climate. Hill slopes up to an altitude of 1100 meters, right? So you are talking about hills in equatorial and tropical region. Temperature 15 to 30 degree, right? So least is 15 degree because it is mountain, highest is this. So which of the following crops are grown in this particular area? When the question was actually asked, it was a time when India was discussing about the trade issues associated with pepper. So the question was with respect to that. So don't worry why exactly they have asked about pepper, and start preparing, because in last 20 years, this was like, I think one or second question which was asked on this type. So you will be able to do even with the help of what do you call as elimination procedure as well, right? So just try to look at these type only from the table that I have provided. This year, if you look at the agriculture table that I have provided to you in the class, that should be more than enough. So after that, you look at this, the annual range of temperature in the interior of the continents, that is continental climate, is high as compared to coastal areas. What are the reasons with it? So guys, what are we talking about? When I'm talking about this, let me say I have a region which is interior and they are comparing the coastal region with the interior. That is, they are comparing A with B. Now let me say there will be thermal difference between, right, land and water. Do you agree? Yes or no? Forget about the question. First you tell me. Will there be thermal difference between land and water? Will the temperature of land and will the temperature of water vary? This option is correct, right? Next, variation in altitude between continents and oceans. So they are telling, will there be variation in the height? Yes, there is little bit variation because if you have plateaus and all, definitely there will be variation. Presence of strong winds in the interior. So interior of the earth will have strong winds and exterior or coastal areas will not have, is not correct. Even coastal may have more because of land breeze and sea breeze, correct? Now, heavy rains in the interior as compared to coast. Latitude wise, in some areas you may get rainfall, some areas you may not get rainfall. Windward you may get rainfall, leeward you may not get rainfall. But we have never studied that land and water would vary, correct? So this option is also wrong. So now you got only two. See, 1 and 2. Is there an option? Yes. So 90% of the students will be quick enough to go and answer and say that yes, the option would be 1 and 2. Why? Option 1 and 2 statements are correct. So now comes the difficulty. Normally, when I come to two options, so I eliminated these two, correct? I'm teaching you how to utilize this opportunity in understanding how exactly you need to answer. You see, you got two options now. So I have two options. In the previous question, when I was talking about the clouds one, all options were wrong, only one option was correct. So I didn't have any other choice, but I went with it. I didn't analyze the question. But here I have two options. It can be one only, and it has to be 1 and 2 only. So in both the cases, one is there. So one is right. I'm not worrying about one. I'm going to think about the second one. So what is the question? Annual range of temperature in the interior of the continent. What is the meaning of annual range of temperature? We are talking about summer temperature and winter temperature, correct? So let us talk, let us say summer and winter. So if I am in Delhi, so what is going to happen? Summer temperature will be more, winter temperature will be less, correct? Because of thermal difference, that is, land gets heated soon, water takes time. Because of that, there will be difference in annual range of temperature in interior of the continents. So first one is right, as I told you. Variation in altitude between continents and oceans. So whenever I look at temperature, and did I ever tell you that height of the continent and ocean, it has impact on the temperature? Within the continent, if I take a mountain above 1 kilometer, you will have minus 6.5 degrees Celsius. So if someone says that ocean temperature will be more compared to continental in the same latitude because of its altitude. So if we go to mountains, if we go 1 kilometer above, 2 kilometer above, temperature may decrease, then it is correct. But here they are talking about variation in seasons. So the word, like, annual range of temperature becomes important. So immediately you have to write what is annual range of temperature. Difference in summer and winter. Does it has anything to do with altitude? No. So this would become wrong. Is this clear? Summer and winter, altitude has less variation. Altitude will always remain same, irrespective of whether it is summer or winter. What is more important is the thermal difference that exists between these two. So guys, this option is also wrong. So these are the areas where in exam also, you people get confused and you don't know which one to go. And trust me, 90% of the students will go with this. I'm spending more time on this question because others have actual data, but this question, I want you to know why students do mistake in geography. That is, when they believe that any statement is correct, they are going to say that option is correct, irrespective of whether that option is correct with the question or not. So please understand, when you look at the options specifically, when you get doubt into, try to derive further, try to understand the keywords, fix the points which are correct. These two are there, so one is right, so go with one, but work more on the second option. You will be able to answer. All right. So after this, if you see oceanography, ocean currents is the most predominant one, guys, especially names and all. The concepts, why exactly it happened, you might read less, but this you try to work. Tides also, like, because of tidal energy and all those aspects. Trenches, coral reefs, especially from last 3 years, because Australian government and the world community is working a lot on ensuring that the coral reefs are protected. So let us see the questions, right? Consider the following statements. One is about the coral reefs which are given here. Most of the world's coral reefs are in tropical waters. I hope you all agree, because minimum temperature required is 20 to 21. This was the conditions. So what will you read for coral reefs? For coral reefs, the conditions that I have dictated in the notes, distribution that I have given in the notes, plus if you take environment material, you have coral reefs in that as well. So please try to read coral reefs from oceanography and also environment point of view. Second important thing in environment, ocean acidification is there. See, along with oceanography, try to read that as well. Earlier, it was geography faculties who used to deal with environment and ecology. Because of weightage increasing every year, people have separated it and they are reading them separately. But under oceanography itself, we used to cover ocean acidification and all before. So please try to read ocean acidification, right? Coral reefs, El Nino, La Nina, all these things associated with, right, environment and ecology and geography together, right? This is one request of mine. So more than 1/3 of the world's coral reefs are located in the territories of Australia, Oceania, I hope you remember, Indonesia and Philippines region, because of the conditions available. Slides that are provided to you, you can, in the class lectures, if you can look at those distribution. So for coral reefs, look at the slides that are provided to you once, plus class notes for the content. That's more than enough. If you don't have the required slides, I'll be sharing it immediately with Venusa, and he will be providing you those slides that are required. Coral reefs host far more number of animal phyla than those hosted by tropical rainforests. So specifically, they're talking about animal phyla rather than talking about the diversity. Because in tropical rainforests, you will have more about the plant diversity. So here they are talking mostly about animal diversity. So that word is the key for you to say whether it is there or not. I'll change the statement. Coral reefs has more biodiversity compared to tropical rainforest. Statement is wrong, because diversity wise rainforests have more, and you know that coral reefs are known as rainforests of the oceans, but only with respect to animal rather than considering with respect to what we call as plants, right? So that variation you should be aware. Now, tides, you know, gravitational force of sun, gravitational force of moon, centrifugal and centripetal forces of the earth. It's a straight question that we have already discussed in the class. And now when we talk about geomorphology, you have structure, interior of the earth. You may get few questions. Rocks, especially sedimentary rocks. People are more interested about this because of fossil fuels that are present in this. Earthquakes is a geophysical phenomena, especially when Nepal earthquake and all occurred, questions came on these. Volcanoes, again, when it is in news and India doesn't have active volcano, and when there was eruption in this active volcano, there was a question. This year, least possibility, but Indonesia had some volcanic eruptions, so they may ask you. Geographic features and associated regions, right? And origin and evolution of the earth. This has very less possibility. So let me just look at some of the questions. Which of the above are responsible for bringing dynamic changes on the surface of the earth? So what is the meaning of dynamic changes? Structural changes that occur, endogenetic and exogenetic forces. So you see electromagnetic radiation, right? Geothermal energy, gravitational force, plate movements, right? Rotation of the earth leads to Coriolis force. Coriolis force leads to wind direction. That also leads to changes. Revolution of the earth. So all the options are correct because everything has some impact. Gravitational force means what? Some people were asking mass movements. Even that lead to changes, right? So I hope this is a direct question, don't worry. Guys, last year this question was asked because every sea was in news. Each and every sea was in news. So because of that, you had this particular options. So let me just tell you, this year also, at least 20 days before exam, La Excellence will be providing you a video lecture or at least Zoom classes where on the basis of current affairs, now coronavirus, all these areas would be included. So I will try to take map based classes for you. And most of the questions you will be able to answer with the help of that. So don't worry about maps, right? So then, see, which of the following has shrunk immensely, dried up in the recent past due to human activities? This was environment based, but like, you know, they have added in geography itself. So Black Sea get a lot of water, Aral Sea and Lake Baikal were the answer. So all this will be covered in the World Physical Geography. Most of you have already seen in the regular GS classes already. So this particular population, Changpa community, was asked because of their role in informing our soldiers about the Chinese incursions in the areas. So this was associated with current affairs, so please don't worry about it. Demographic dividend, as the word itself says, when we are talking about the demographic dividend, it is age group of, it is 15 to 64, right? Next, these are all direct questions. Indian geography, right? Again, extremely important area. Physiography, map-based, drainage, climate, all these given again. So let us quickly see these questions. Indian physiography, when we are talking, I hope you are aware about all these places. Baghelkhand, Bundelkhand, Vidarbha, Maharashtra, Malwa Plateau, Malwa region, Rayalaseema, right? You're aware about all these things already. I have taught you in plateaus. Immediately after the plateaus, you just see which cities are present among them. Now, Bodh Gaya, where is Bodh Gaya? Bodh Gaya is in Bihar. Baghelkhand is a plateau. You know, Bihar is in Middle Ganga and Lower Ganga. that is plains, and this is a plateau region that they have given, right? So with that, you can eliminate one. Try to see which you don't know or which you know, whether you can directly derive or you can derive with the help of what we call as, like, the elimination method. But here, let me tell you two important facts. Some places are extremely important for you and you should be aware. Nasik, Shirdi, Khajuraho, right? Some are commonly given here, some are not commonly given. On the basis of that, either using elimination also, you will be able to do. So this question was asked in that particular year based on the minerals that were available in different plateaus. And India was going for OALP, Open Acreage Licensing Policy. And India was working on the minerals that were available, and some places were extremely important. So some map base they had asked at that particular point. So, and this was longitude based, as I told you. India map itself, if you can draw properly and try to analyze, even in RRP we try to do this, right? If you can try to analyze, you will be able to answer these questions. And if you have any specific queries about these map based, and if you can ask me the questions, then I would be able to help you out. So yeah, mineral based question. This was specifically picked up from Economic Survey and India Yearbook in that particular year. So again, current affairs based, don't worry much about these type of questions, because see, whenever you analyze whether you have prepared for the exam or not, I understand you need to take previous year questions and other institution questions and you try to analyze. But when you are analyzing, and if you find that I am not aware of this particular topic, so just try to see why did this question appear in the exam. So if it is basic and if this type of question is repeating regularly, for example, when we take about the reports and institutions, like every year they're asking. So then what happens, it is mandatory for you to sit and by heart all the institutions and the reports. But when it comes to topics like this, hardly once in a while they have come, and only in a specific framework if they have asked, and if they have not repeated them, then you see why it was asked in that particular year. If it is because of current affairs in that particular year, then don't waste your time on such areas, because that doesn't say whether you have prepared or not, because such questions will not repeat in future. If such questions would have repeated, we would have stressed them more in the class as well, right? So some factual data where students feel they have to by heart and start reading multiple sources. I bet you take any material that is available, you won't find them, because it was only in the Economic Survey and India Yearbook that was available in that particular year. We read them in that year and we explained, so we are aware. So don't waste your time on such issues, right? And don't get demotivated that, like, I'm not aware of this. So you should calculate and you should evaluate yourself only on the basis of certain questions, because if they appear in a specific year associated with current affairs, that doesn't tell you the trend or pattern that you need to follow. So let us look at the particular state in India has the following characteristic. It is located on the same latitude which passes through northern Rajasthan. Right? They're not talking about entire Rajasthan, northern Rajasthan. It has over 80% of its area under forest cover. Right? Over 12% of the forest cover constituted protected area network in the state. This you might not be aware. So now let us consider these. Northern Rajasthan means all the states would come, right? More or less they are in the same latitude. You're right. Next, 80% of its area under forest cover. Uttarakhand, 80% is not there. Himachal Pradesh and all is not there. The only state where you can say you will have 80% forest cover is Arunachal Pradesh. Right? So it's easy for you to tell on the basis of this. But most of the students stop at this particular point and then they try to eliminate. Just remember, it is northern Rajasthan and no state is in the southern part which is in the same latitude, right? So map base is always tricky until and unless you understand India properly with the help of climatology, Indian physiography and all. It's not easy to answer. People just believe like, if I take India map, sit in front of India map and start reading it, it's done. No, take class notes. I have helped you to mark during the class in different maps. Whatever is there in your class notes, try to search for them, and by giving reason, if you are able to analyze them, it would be easier. Next, drainage, guys. This is about the glaciers and the rivers which pass through them. So this was asked last year, mainly because of the report which spoke about the increase in the river flow because of melting of glaciers. And from the report, they directly picked and gave you this particular question. So then, heavy sand mining was science and technology based question about the soil. So don't worry about it again. See, tributaries and main rivers. Why these specifically? It's very easy for you to answer as well. So don't worry, right? So Chambal is for what? Yamuna. Son is for Ganga. At least basic rivers, I'll tell you, you see. Brahmaputra you see, Ganga you check, Indus you check, Godavari you check, Krishna, Kaveri and Mahanadi. Right? Till here, you try to read once. And this year, Narmada and Tapi also try to work. That's enough. Tributaries, some basic names if you can follow, that's enough. You will be able to answer this. Don't go with where they are flowing, how and all. It would be extremely difficult for you to cover all the minor rivers that are there. But when it comes to interstate water disputes, this year Interstate Water Tribunal bill was also introduced and there was a lot of news about it. As the bill was not readily accepted, try to read at least from geography perspective what are the issues associated with it, right? So consider the following ecosystems. The correct sequence and decreasing order of the albedo values of these ecosystem. Albedo where reflection is more. So can you tell me where reflection will be more? Reflection will always be more wherever you have ice cover, correct? And if you have forest, what is going to happen? Forest normally, right? What does the forest do? Forest normally absorb rather than reflecting. So evergreen forest would absorb more than deciduous, correct? So as you have more forest, they absorb. So first one should be 4, last one should be 2. You see, 4 and 2. Option is C. Don't try to read around and try to link. If you don't understand, then you try to do. Else, it's simple. Greenery absorbs more, whereas when it is ice, it reflects more. These are concepts based. With reference to agricultural soils, consider the following statements. So this question was asked because of the soil health card that was in news. And with respect to that, some reports were given in Economic Survey and India Yearbook as well. So that was one of the main reason you got this particular one. Now you check this options. A high content of organic matter in soil drastically reduces its water holding capacity. Organic content has nothing to do with water holding capacity, correct? So that is absolutely wrong. Soil does not play any role in the sulfur cycle. See, does not play any role. Extreme statement. Again, it doesn't play at all. That's wrong. So whether you read or not, third one is correct. Irrigation over a period of time can contribute to salinization of some agricultural lands. You might recollect about color and all. So that's what they're talking about in this particular area. So after this, guys, Indian Ocean Dipole, we have done in detail. So just look at this. It can influence El Nino's impact on the monsoon. Yes, I hope you are aware. Indian Ocean Dipole, positive or negative, will try to determine whether India gets rainfall or not. Indian Ocean Dipole is characterized by difference in sea surface temperature between tropical Western Indian Ocean and tropical Eastern Pacific Ocean. So it would be tropical Eastern Indian Ocean. They have given Pacific Ocean, so that's wrong. Else it was also right. So yes, industries, sugar industry, bagasse can be used for biofuel. Yes, that's right. Molasses can be used as feedstocks for synthetic chemical fertilizers. Ethanol, again, biofuel. Environment, you will be reading. They have included all those aspects in geography itself. So yeah, this particular question is a typical example of current affairs. Ash related, several measures were taken by the government because it is a particulate matter. So in that particular year, they asked questions about this associated with Indian coal. Right? This is typical current affairs based question because of the measures taken by the government and also discussions made about the particulate matter. Thermal energy, how it is contributing to climate change and benefits, air pollution and all they were discussing. In that particular context, they asked this particular question. Fine. So I hope you have the material. Only 3 questions are left. So we'll just complete this and go to current affairs, right? Which of the following are the advantages of drip irrigation? This was with respect to Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana and others where government was planning for per drop more crop, right? So will it reduce the weed? Yes, because the water will be available to the required crops and not for everything else. If you go for sprinkler irrigation or in flood irrigation or anything else, if water is available everywhere, there is high possibility that weed and all will grow. But as the water is carried directly near the root of the crop, only that particular one will be growing. And reduction in soil salinity, no, because salinity is mostly associated with the fertilizers, not exactly with irrigation alone. Fertilizers normally lead to salinity. So this particular one cannot be said to be correct. Reduction in soil erosion, definitely, because flood irrigation normally leads to erosion, but here there won't be any such issues. So the option would be 1 and 3 only. Next, which of the following practices can help in water conservation in agriculture? So this question is with respect to dry land agriculture in India, right? So when we talk about the dry land agriculture specifically, we were talking about reducing the tillage. That is, when you stop tillage much, right, it would ensure that water will be conserved. Applying gypsum before irrigating the field, again it would reduce salinity. Allowing crop residue to remain in the field. So what is going to happen if you have, or if you allow crop residue to remain in the field, normally that helps in reduction in evaporation. So you might have seen in few areas grasses are there and in few areas covers are being placed. Again, all these are associated with environment itself. Next, consider the following statements. Maize can be used for the production of starch. Oil extracted from maize can be feedstock for biodiesel. Alcoholic beverages can be produced by using maize. This environment-based topic where they are talking about the biodiesel and all, right? Environment, energy is extremely important for you. Just try to work on that. They're just given in agriculture because it is associated with the agricultural products which help in the production, right? So after this, yeah, which of the following statements regarding laterite soils of India are correct? I hope you remember, very high temperature, very high rainfall, alternative weathering would normally lead to what we call as laterite soils, correct? So now they are generally red in color, yes, because they also have iron ore. They're rich in nitrogen and potash. And just see, they are well developed in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. Now, I just want you to use this technique here. Just see, laterite soil means what? They require very high temperature, very high rainfall, correct? Very high temperature, very high rainfall is present in 4 parts of India: Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, West Coast, and also Northeast India. Nowhere else you will find, and little bit of Chota Nagpur Plateau and all. But see the beauty here, they are well developed in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. So this statement is wrong. Forget about rest. You see the options now. Correct answer. So 3, this is wrong. 3 is there, this is wrong. 3 is there, this is wrong. So people ask how to eliminate. See, one procedure cannot be used for all the questions. The problem with students is, I'll go with elimination for everything. I'll go with selection for everything. No. Look at the things. When you look at the option, what I found was you had 3 everywhere. So if 3 is wrong, I have only one option left. That is 1 and 4. Why to read the question as well? Correct? So some tricks, if you can practice while solving, apply them in the examination hall, see where elimination is working and where it is not working, and then you can decide on these. So guys, after all this, let's come back to the most important area, that is current affairs in news. So as I told you, I hope the notes is ready. Even though some are associated with environment, but they have some geographical understanding to it. So I'll be dealing from geography perspective as well. Fine. So Atlantic meridional overturning current is the question, right? So this issue, let me just deal with it. Now, let me say I have North America. Fine. So when I have North America and I have Gulf Stream current flowing like this. Fine. Later the Gulf Stream turn and moves like this. You are aware about the Labrador current and all. So now, normally look at this. I have Gulf Stream going like this. Whenever the Gulf Stream is moving like this, right? So these are, high latitudes, correct? So when the water is moving like this, by the time it reaches here, it would become cold. Fine. Second important aspect, high temperature when it is going due to evaporation, salinity also increases a bit. So 2 things are happening here. 1, it is cold. Second, high salinity, because in this particular current. So due to this, the water would become denser. So guys, cold is associated with temperature, salinity, and when I add these 2 terms, they normally call it as thermohaline. Temperature, salinity, thermohaline circulation. Fine. Now it became denser. What happens to denser water? Denser water will sink down. Do you all agree? So denser water sinks. In which region? If I take this particular part, in this part, the dense water would sink. So when the dense water sinks from this part, let me say I have the cold one now, right? So the cold water from here below, this is underwater, would come down, would come back. Can you see the circulation, guys? So how does it look if I'm seeing horizontally? Just check this. I'll just take some time to change colors, so please bear with me. Now, guys, the surface water is moving like this, fine, and it is becoming cool, and when it is becoming cool, it is sinking down and again coming back. So this I have shown, like, this particular one, actually if I look from top, it looks like this. Again it raises and there is a circulation. So in ocean currents topic, I have taught you people mostly with respect to surface ocean currents. We have not dealt with underwater deep ocean currents, which are moving due to thermohaline circulation. So now this circulation which is present is known as Atlantic meridional overturning current. Overturning is what? The one which is coming down. Is this clear? So now what is this current? This current is thermohaline current. Is this clear, guys? So now, why is it in news? This is associated with climate change. You know that this circulation is associated with temperature and salinity. So now, because of very high temperature due to climate change, the ocean water, this particular one, is becoming more warm. If this is warm, right, it will not sink. It will not become cold easily. Only if it becomes cold, it would become denser. Salinity alone is not enough. If only salinity is there, it is weak. If temperature and salinity both are there, it would be stronger. So, because of climate change, the warm ocean current is not becoming cold. And due to this, it is not sinking. As it is not sinking, the circulation is getting affected. So this is what they are trying to say. So if this process doesn't occur, if circulation doesn't occur properly, and if warm water increases in the oceans, the fear for all of us is ocean will not be able to dissolve more carbon dioxide. And if ocean doesn't dissolve more carbon dioxide, then we would lose ocean sink, carbon sink. Is that correct? So because of this, this issue is extremely important for us. I hope it is clear. I'll just repeat. Whatever we read, Gulf Stream and all, is about what we call as surface circulation. In the surface, when we say from tropical regions to temperate regions, when ocean water is flowing, because of cool climate above, that is in temperate regions, the ocean water temperature reduces, and due to some evaporation in the process, they would have become saline. So they become denser and they sink. And once they sink, again they come back. This is meridional. What is the meaning of meridian? Longitude. Latitude is what? If I have something like this, and if circulation is occurring like this, I call it as what? Latitudinal circulation. And longitudes are like this, and if the circulation occurs in north-south direction, we normally call it as meridional circulation. So Atlantic meridional overturning current. I hope you understood. Why is it weakening? Because of climate change. Is this clear? If it weakens, Warm water is above. Can you please tell me now? If at all I have warm water, ocean has warm water. Warm water in the ocean means, can I say low pressure area? Low pressure area means what? Converging and rising air. So if I have rising air, moisture laden air, warm water has moisture. If the moisture rises, clouds are formed. And wherever this is there in that region, they are getting rainfall. So rainfall wise, it is good. There is no problem with it. But when it comes to whatever we talk about, the other aspects. What are the other aspects here? Whenever we are talking about, right? So the ocean water circulation, ocean acidification, they are getting affected, but not rainfall. Rainfall is positive, but rainfall is good if it is minimum. But if it floods, again, it would be problematic. So all these aspects are current affairs. So two things I want you to know. Warm water is increasing because of climate change, and due to warm water, wherever this is flowing, especially in northeastern North America, US and all, their rainfall will increase. Second, carbon sink would reduce. So this is what you need to understand with respect to Atlantic meridional overturning current. If you want to write anything, I'll just give you 1 minute. Take your time and write down properly. Meanwhile, as it is current affairs and newly asked, so any question if you have, you can just ask.
Sandeep sir.
Yes, sir.
Nancharai garu maatladutunnaru okka second. Nancharai
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, cheppandi.
Sir, this phenomenon is only appeared in North Atlantic or anywhere, sir?
See, deep ocean water current is present everywhere. Thermohaline circulation is present everywhere. But it is in current affairs because North America and some parts of Europe received rainfall because of this. So because of that, they have given in news. But remember, everywhere for ocean water, if it is moving from equator to poles, water should also move back from poles to equator, which is not part of our syllabus. That's why we don't read. Else it occurs in all the oceans.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so let's take the next issue. Yes, I feel this is a very interesting topic when we look at this continental axis hypothesis. Nothing associated with geography, but you can compare it with coronavirus, G7 countries, and all these aspects as well. So now what does it actually try to tell us? Continental axis hypothesis. It says that it's a very simple thing. If a country is present more latitudinally, let us say Russia, right? If I look at Russia, Russia is present in, like, east-west extension. Do you all agree? So most of Russia is from east to west. And they say if a country is present in east-west direction more than north-south direction like this. So if any country is from north to south, development is less. And if any country is more continent area wise, if they are more in east-west, then development is actually more, is what they try to say. So this is continental axis hypothesis, nothing more. Why? The reason what the hypothesis says is, if at all we are talking about same latitude, then climate would be same, almost, temperature would be same. As climate and temperature will be almost same. Please remember, it's almost, not completely. If it is almost same, ideas can shift easily from one region to another region, which would lead to development. But if the country is present in north-south direction, so if it is in north-south direction, you know that latitude-wise temperature keeps on varying. temperature is more near the equator and it is less towards the poles. So as temperature varies from one region to another region within the latitudes. So let us say South Indian temperature is different from North India. So winter crops of North India is different from winter crops of South India. So in South India, we will always grow kharif crops. Why? We cannot grow wheat because temperature is always greater than 18 degrees Celsius. So we will not have uniformity. Whereas when the country is latitudinally present, they will have uniformity. Let me just bring here what we call as development index as well. Just consider G7 countries or G8 countries. So which are the G7 or G8 countries? If we look, Canada, US, which are in temperate region, 30 to 60 degree. UK, France, Germany, Italy, Russia, right? And Japan, all are present in 30 to 60. And this particular region have G7. Today, China is also joining that. So when we look at this particular part, latitudinally, it shows clearly that this region is growing well because there is transfer of technology, ideas among these countries. Whereas any technology or anything, if it has to come from the temperate region to tropical region, it has to be adopted to us. Virus also has to be adopted to us. So it's taking some more time in tropical regions to be affected more. So the theory is very simple. I hope you understood. If at all they ask you, you should be aware that continental axis hypothesis try to tell us that if a country is present east-west, then development is more compared to north to south. A very simple concept actually, but as it is in news, I just explained you. Next, sudden stratospheric warming. Guys, please see the words carefully. It is sudden. Sudden always means temporary phenomena. It's not a permanent phenomena, right? Second, stratosphere. We are not talking about troposphere. We are mostly talking about stratosphere. And it is warming. Why is it important for us to tell that it is warming rather than telling it is cooling or any other word? What is warming here? I want you to know that if you look at atmosphere and if you try to recollect it, temperature reaches minus 54 degrees Celsius at tropopause. Do you all agree? So at tropopause, what is the temperature? Minus 54 degrees Celsius. At stratopause, temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. Correct? That means in stratosphere, temperature will be in between minus 54 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius. So it is almost cool. Warming means suddenly for 1 or 2 days maximum, they feel that the temperature in stratosphere would become 50 degrees Celsius. This is positive 50 degrees Celsius. Almost 50 degrees Celsius it is seen. Now, why does this occur? And how is this occurring? Right? So this particular concept, let me explain you properly, but I want you to know that sudden stratospheric warming is a temporary phenomena found in stratosphere, which is generally cooler. And here warming is taking place. Is this clear? So now coming to this particular topic, yes, I hope you remember what we dealt in the class, that is with respect to polar vortex. So when I talk about polar vortex, I clearly showed you that if I am considering Hadley cell, Ferrel cell, and polar cell, the height of troposphere or tropopause varies, correct? And in winter season, this has reduced a lot. Do you all agree? Winter season, it has reduced a lot. This also reduces Like, all the cells reduces, but this reduces a lot. So when it reduces a lot, we normally observe that the winds, when they are moving like this, they normally move in this direction. I'll just show you. This actually flows in this particular fashion. That is, it is moving from west to east. Nice. Why is it west to east? If I consider upper air circulation, just check here. Winds are blowing from ferrule cell to polar cell. So can I say ferrule cell is here and polar cell is here? So when winds are moving from ferrule cell to polar cell, I'm in northern hemisphere and they turn to the right due to Coriolis force. As they turn to the right, can you see it is moving from west to east? Fine. Now, suddenly, due to unknown reasons, that's always the beauty of geography. Due to unknown reasons, the wind circulation, which was moving from west to east, started moving from east to west. Right? So it starts moving from east to west, and when it starts moving from east to west, then we normally observe that the polar vortex is going to break. So I'll just tell you what is important and what notes you have to make. Just try to listen first. So what's happening? During the sudden stratospheric warming, they say the winds are moving from east to west than moving from west to east. So when the winds move from east to west, there will be breaking of polar vortex. I have explained this polar vortex concept already, so I'm not repeating the concept here. So when they start moving like this, there will be breakdown of polar vortex. So when polar vortex breaks, what is the meaning of breaks? Let me say I have a Earth surface here. When I have Earth surface, breaking means they would start moving down like this. And this becomes one cell, this becomes another cell. So when they are moving towards each other, can you see there is some sort of convergence here? So as the air converges due to breakdown of polar vortex, you tell me now, convergence means, can I say more number of air particles will come closer? If more number of air particles come and hit against each other, they normally raise the temperature. Correct? So when particles come and hit against each other, they raise the temperature. As the temperature raises, stratospheric warming takes place. It's hardly for 1 or 2 days, not more than that. So this is observed in. Now I'll tell the notes, which points should be present in your notes. Just try to make a small note, right? So during winter season, guys, during winter season, polar vortex will be stronger in northern hemisphere, right? Due to unknown reasons, they are weakening nowadays. Recently, people believe it is due to climate change. Polar vortex move from west to east. But during this phenomena, they move from east to west. And it leads to breakdown of polar vortex. During the breakdown, in stratosphere, air would converge, which would lead to sudden increase in temperature, called as sudden stratospheric warming. I hope it's clear. So let's take any question if you have. And if someone has not attended polar vortex session, or if it is not done due to this breakdown and all, I'll make a separate video and provide it so that it would be helpful for them. Apart from that particular question, if you have anything else, you just ask me. So yes, if there is nothing, let's move quickly to the next question. Oh, Madden-Julian oscillation. You might have read about this a lot, and a lot of students had confusion about this. So yes, actually some names and some phenomena are extremely important in that particular due to current affairs. And you won't see them in NCERT, you don't see them in any standard books as well. Neither in geography optional as well, people will come across these because it's all the phenomena which have never affected India, or globally it has no significance. But nowadays, due to climate change, each and every phenomena has become important, and let us try to understand what exactly is this. So guys, if I consider, just try to have the map if you have, or try to understand this particular concept. So now, when I'm talking about equator, I'm just giving you an example of South Indian Ocean, which is similar to the North Indian as well. Now, this is my 30 degrees south, 0 to 30 degree. Above also I have 0 to 30 degree north. So in tropical region, especially in Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean, I hope you are aware. Okay, first let me introduce you to the continents. This is Africa, please bear with me. Australia and South America. This is my Indian Ocean, this is my Pacific Ocean. Fine. So now, you're all aware that if I have warm water present here, I normally call it as what? Positive Indian Ocean dipole. I hope you all agree. This is warm and this is cold. So this is called as positive Indian Ocean dipole. Do you all agree? So now what is warm? Let me just show you in atmosphere in red color. Okay. So this is atmosphere, guys. Don't think it's water. It is air. Air moves like this, rises, and again it moves back. Air moves like this, rises, and moves like this. Correct? So again it moves back. So this is where warm water is present. Is this clear? So now, don't write anything. First try to understand the concept. Later we can look at this particular aspect. I am just considering this now. Fine. Now where is this present? This was present in warm waters near Africa. Correct? Now, as the season changes, let us say southwest trade winds will start. So now when you have southwest trade winds, intra-seasonal, they normally call. Madden-Julian oscillation is actually considered as intra-seasonal phenomena. It's not a permanent phenomena. These words are extremely important. They are intra-seasonal phenomena. Now, when you have the southwest trade winds moving, trade winds, when they push, how does the winds blow? The wind southwest trade winds means, I'll just try to show here. Yes, southwest trade winds. I hope you remember. it is moving in this direction. That is from where to where? West to east. That means this will start moving like this. So when it is moving like this, after some time, I will observe this low pressure area near Australia. After some time, it will come here. After some time, it would go towards what? South America. Can you see that, guys? It is moving from where to where? Can you please tell me? It is moving from Africa to Australia, Australia to South America. That is, if they give you the question, Madam Julian oscillation will move from which region to which region? It started in Arabian Sea and then it went to Bay of Bengal. Now I have a question to you. In Bay of Bengal, if you find, right, southwest trade winds is just an example I gave. It may occur due to other wind patterns as well. The other wind patterns can be, if we take the example of what we call as equatorial westerlies, which also move from west to east. So I'm not getting into the winds. So please don't consider the winds seriously. I'm just trying to tell it is moving from west to east. Fine. So it's an intra-seasonal phenomena where it is moving from west to east. So when it is moving from west to east, first it was in Arabian Sea. Later it shifted towards India. After that it shifted towards Bay of Bengal. After that it went to Andaman Sea, right? And then it entered into Pacific Ocean. And then from Pacific it started moving towards South America. So this was the process. So they say that in between seasons, low pressure areas, in other words, they say clouds. What is low pressure area in ocean? Convergence and raising. If you have convergence and raising, clouds are formed. A band of clouds are moving from west to east. Then which of the areas are affected? First important area is Arabian Sea. Then it affected Bay of Bengal. Then it went into Pacific Ocean. I'm not worried about Pacific Ocean. Leave about Pacific Ocean. And it dies once it reaches the Eastern Pacific. So that issue is done. It dies near Eastern Pacific because of Humboldt current. I hope you remember. You have Humboldt cold current here. Because of cold currents present in this particular part, it is going to die quickly. If at all there is El Nino, let me say if there is El Nino means what? Warm water will be present near South America. So then it will not die suddenly. So if cold water is near South America, it will die. If warm water is there, it doesn't die. Now this, initially cyclones were present more in Arabian Sea of India. Why? Because of this circulation. You have a low pressure area. Low pressure area means it will help in tropical cyclones. So it helped in tropical cyclones in Arabian Sea. Later, tropical cyclones were formed near Australia and also in Bay of Bengal. Why were they formed in Australia and Bay of Bengal? Because this circulation started shifting there. Then they found cyclones present in Pacific Ocean as well. So as it is a low pressure area carrying clouds and moisture, they started giving enough rainfall throughout Indian Ocean and throughout Pacific Ocean. I hope it is clear. Guys, this complex phenomena is not required for you. I will tell you the words that you have to write. So just focus on those words for the exam. For those people, when you read some articles and if you are not able to understand it with clarity, I have explained this in detail. But from exam point of view, especially prelims exam point of view, some lines that is there, you try to read them properly, right? So you can write Madden Julian oscillation. Yeah. The first word that you have to remember is it is intra-seasonal. intra-seasonal phenomena and not a permanent phenomena. So guys, here we are talking about intra-seasonal. Why is the word intra-seasonal given here? Because in between the seasons, wind direction changes. So please make a note of it. In between seasons, there is change in wind direction. Third important point. Why do we observe this mostly in Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean? Starting in Indian Ocean and entering into Pacific Ocean. Why doesn't it start in Pacific Ocean? Why doesn't it start in Atlantic Ocean is another question you have. Wind direction changes mostly in Indian Ocean compared to Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean because in North Indian Ocean, land is present. If land is more, guys, please note down, North Indian Ocean, land is present. As land is there, ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone, shifting is also more. Due to this, in between seasons, wind directions also changes. Clear? Next point. This phenomena is composed of a low pressure area where we observe converging and rising air. And it is associated with a band of clouds. Full stop. This low pressure area and clouds would move from west to east. Hyphen, you write the names there. In brackets, first you write only in tropical region. For more than 20,000 kilometers. In brackets, I told you only in tropical regions for more than 20,000 kilometers. Hyphen. If it starts in West Indian Ocean, it would move towards Eastern Indian Ocean. In brackets, you write there from Arabian Sea to Bay of Bengal. In brackets itself, or from Africa to Australia. Close the brackets. Then it moves towards Western Pacific Ocean. And then towards Eastern Pacific Ocean or South America. Full stop. Due to Peru-Chile current or Peru-Chile current or Humboldt current, Humboldt, Humboldt current, they may disappear. They may disappear. Next paragraph. If there is El Nino, ELNINO, if there is El Nino or La Nina, then MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation, MJO will also be affected. Will also be affected. Full stop. During El Nino, warm water accumulates near South America and this would ensure the continuity of MJO. So guys, I hope it is clear. With this concept, you will be able to answer other issues as well. So let's go to the next topic, which is extremely easy. Goldschmidtite. It's a mineral which is in news, right? And some information about this you can just note down quickly, nothing much. It's a new mineral which is discovered in South Africa. And the beauty of this is, it is found in mantle. Not in crust. Fine? This is extremely important. Mantle. And it has high concentration of niobium, potassium, and a few rare earth minerals like lanthanum and cerium. Fine? And it is dark green in color. Just a factual information, guys. Nothing much. It's a new mineral. We have to see the usage of this and all over a period of time. This China and rare earth minerals are in news, which are mostly used in electronic industries. It is believed that 70% of rare earth minerals are there in China and few rare earth minerals are present in India recently as well. So nothing much. From science, you try to read what are these rare earth minerals that are metals that are present, and try to see the usage of this in electrical and electronic industries. China, Japan, South Korea, and other countries are very good in this particular aspect. And if India also gets an advantage of these rare earth minerals, then electronic industries can also function well in India, is what the expectation is. So this was extremely important, guys. Paleo channel. You might have heard about in Prayagraj, Allahabad, you have Triveni Sangam of Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. If you go there and check, you have three waters mixing, but we do not know actually where the source of the third river is actually. And if you look at Ganga and Yamuna, right, it is believed that below this, right, somewhere below this, there is a channel which will also connect Ganga to Yamuna. Now, if I consider the Earth's crust, maybe the channel is somewhere down here. Now, this is all soil. This is filled with soil, mud and all. But you will have surface like this. These are all soils. This is hard rock. You have a channel like this. So now now this is filled with mud. Fine. Now, in case, if I get an opportunity and try to remove this mud, then the benefit that I will have is I can connect Yamuna with Ganga. Now, when I connect Yamuna with Ganga, this I can use as an automatic channel for interstate or inter-river connectivity. You might have heard about river linking projects. So river linking projects will be helpful if at all we can identify this buried channel. Now this channel is present below soil. If we can identify this channel, why is this buried now? Because over a period of time, maybe due to floods or over a period of time due to sedimentation and all, this channel might have disappeared. Now, surrounding rocks are very hard, but this is very soft. So I can maintain the top part, but try to make an underground channel here. So if that is there, then I can ensure that the water can be supplied to other parts easily. So if I have a natural channel, it's very easy. So paleo channel means historically rivers would have flown in that channel. Now it is buried under water. Sorry, now it is buried under sand. As it is buried today under sand, right? It is called as paleo channel. Now, if I remove it and start using it, it would be helpful for several, what we call as, interlinking of rivers and also irrigation purposes. Next. Danaki depression. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's an African term. It's a very interesting concept associated with geomorphology. Now you see, guys, if I consider this as Arabian plate, and if I consider this as African plate, right? And if I consider this particular part as East African Rift Valley. Is this clear, guys? So now you have African plate, you have Arabian plate, and within African plate, I have Somalian plate, Sudan plate, and Nubian plate. Which are the two plates I have? I have Sudan plate and I have Nubian plate. So you see, guys, I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3. So I have 3 plates here. Now what is happening? This plate is diverging this side, this plate is diverging this side, and Arabian plate is diverging this side. So what is this? This is your Red Sea. You know that Red Sea is formed due to divergence, and this is also formed due to divergence. Now, when all these are diverging, near Ethiopia, near a country called Ethiopia in Africa, if I consider this particular part, the rock has gone down. Now you see, guys, near Ethiopia, some rock has gone down. Now, as the rock has gone down, we have a depression here. So this depression in Ethiopia, due to divergence between Arabian plate, African plate, and Arabian plate, Sudan plate, and Nubian plate, is known as Danaki depression. Due to what? Divergence, guys. If they ask you a simple question, Danaki depression is due to what? It is due to divergence. Next, only 2 topics more, guys. Monsoon model. Recently, IMD has told that we are planning to come up with a model to analyze monsoon effectively, because as of now, we are unable to do it. They say it's very, very difficult for us to predict monsoon, mainly because there are several issues associated with this. Now, what are the issues associated with the prediction? It may be because of El Nino. It may be because of La Nina. It may be because of what you call as depressions in Indian Ocean, that is cyclones. It may be due to positive Indian Ocean dipole. It may be due to negative Indian Ocean dipole, or it may be due to jet streams. I'm not aware. There are series of issues associated with this. So IMD is planning for a model where they try to understand these. In mains also, UPSC asked the question, why is it difficult for us to predict monsoons? Because of all these factors which play on monsoons, it is very difficult to say why we get more rainfall or why we get less rainfall. After almost 20 to 25 years, India has got some of, in some areas, they have received more rainfall in 2019. That's why all these predictions have started again. But nothing much to see there. It's cold waves in India. Just remember one thing. Summers are becoming hotter due to climate change, and winters are becoming colder due to climate change. And in this extremely cold climate itself, unfortunately, we have got coronavirus, which survives in this climate. And cold waves normally in India are associated with the westerly winds, which are present above subtropical high pressure, which is present near Madhya Pradesh. 20° north, almost India has subtropical high pressure in winter season. And above that, we have winds called as westerlies. And these westerly winds, as they blow from west to east, they carry cold air, cold waves, right? And they cover entire North India. Now, this year, especially, from these westerlies, what happened? Few low altitude means within 2 kilometers, stratus clouds also came. So what are these stratus clouds? If I have Earth and if I have stratus clouds which are spread across, so sun's rays will not have much effect because it would be reflected back. So below, Earth became cooler. So land was cooler, and most importantly, this cold waves, that is westerly winds which were blowing, were also cooler. Due to this, overall temperature reduced in North India. I want you to know, on an average in Delhi, every month the temperature will be approximately 0 to 10 degrees Celsius. Range will be this. That means if I take average in a month of Delhi, temperature range, if I calculate, if I add all those and divide it by 30 days, temperature would range from 0 to 10 degrees Celsius. But this year, it was less than 0 degrees Celsius. Now, this was associated with cold waves, and cold waves are associated with westerlies. Guys, don't go with the basic concepts again and again and don't get confused. The terminologies that are used here, if you can write it down and try to understand that in the examination hall, that should be more than enough for you to solve most of these questions. So these are the current affairs that you have, guys. Apart from this, please try to refer the class notes, GC Leong, only the 13 chapters that I have told. World geography and Indian geography, Ready Reckoner, we have tried to ensure most of the concepts are clear for you. Places in news is also given to you. And in RRP also we have covered, and we'll try to provide other videos which we did separately for geography through maps in Bangla. Even I'll request Geeta ma'am to provide it to all the students. So once you go through them, apart from that, as I told you, 20 days before exam, because current affairs till that time will be important for you, all updates associated with that will also be provided to you.